Live Marco Podcast audio commentaries.
Thanks to your generous donations to our Kickstarter funding campaign, Clive Barker Podcast presents Fundraiser 3.
Hell on Earth.
All right, well, this is our third audio commentary, and this is, unlike the first two, I think this is probably one that most everybody has seen and has access to. Dread. It's a 2009 adaptation by Anthony Diblasi, so he wrote and directed it.
Yeah.
Well, and we'll get more into the details of that. I guess the main thing here is that, Jose, I had just discovered, you pointed out that there are two versions of this movie. Yeah. So, the one that we're going to be watching is the original, the very first one that came out.
Theatrical cut.
Yeah. 94 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's the one that we'll be doing the commentary on. I've never seen, and until yesterday, I'd never even heard of the extended version, or that there was a high definition version of this movie. I had no idea at all.
Yeah, there is an edition in Blu-ray, but I'm not sure if it's not an import, if it's like an English Blu-ray.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure if that's the case, but I think that the 108-minute version came out before the Blu-ray version. So
yeah,
because there's a 108-minute version on DVD, but we don't have that one.
Oh, yeah. So, but yeah, I don't have that one. I think the very first DVD was this 94-minute one. I got it when it launched through Dark Delicacies. I had them get. They had an autograph party thing with, for the launch of it, and I just had them, get it autographed and mail it up to me.
That was you had all the actors and some of the actors sign it too, or
yeah. Actually, I have Anthony Diblasi, Hannah Steen, who is Cheryl, and Vivian Gray, who's Tabitha Swan. Which one's Tabitha Swan? Oh, is that Abby?
Tabitha
I
Swan?
think so. The one with the birthmark.
Yeah, they call her. I mean, I don't know who.
I think so. I think you're right.
I think I went through at least pretty much halfway or more through the movie without them ever saying her name. And it's like, for example, Cheryl's name is only said like almost half an hour into the movie, I think.
Well, and the girl with the birthmark, he calls her Abby all the time. But but on this little sheet they gave saying who the autographs are, it says Vivian Gray dash Tabitha Swan.
Huh. Well, maybe Tabitha is the long version of Abby.
Abby could be short for that.
Yeah, I've heard people call people that are named Tabitha Abby.
I thought Abby was Abigail.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, are we ready to get the movie started? Let's just assume that everyone is on the main menu and do a countdown. Who wants to do the countdown?
All right, I can do the countdown. We're going to start the commentary on the count of three, and you're going to see the logo for what was the company's name? Essential Entertainment. So, okay, 3, 2, 1, go. So here we go. Essential Entertainment.
Yeah, I see After Dark Films is the first thing I see here.
Oh, okay. I may be a little off sync with you. Now I'm seeing Matador Pictures.
That's what I'm saying too.
Now I'm seeing Essential Entertainment again.
I'll pause a little bit if
Now I'm seeing Matador Pictures.
Okay. So here
Do I have a different DVD than you guys? I have the one that says 8 Films to Die For. Now I see Midnight Picture Show with the mask.
No, I don't think so. Just think
I think you just
we're
saw
a little ahead. We're a little ahead, maybe.
Yeah,
okay.
You saw one more producer logo than we did, I think.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Jackson Rathbone, he was in Twilight movies a lot.
Yeah, I keep hearing that, but which character was he? I mean, I've seen the first 2 Twilight movies, but I sort of don't remember much about them.
Yeah, Stephen Grace. That's the character in this movie.
No, I know which character he is in this movie.
No, I know.
In Twilight.
In Twilight, I have no idea, but I think he starred in like the last movie. It was just one of them. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Some emo-looking vampire.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you had Quaid there saying, "I want your soul to open up for me."
Yeah, which is that's a weird thing to put right there because that's actually a scene from much later in the movie.
Uh-huh.
It's like they're trying to summarize the plot.
I just want to say that the title is a lie. I didn't feel scared by this movie at all.
Yeah.
I felt a lot more scared by the short story that Clive Barker wrote.
Yeah. So another weird thing is here we've got this professor here who is never going to show up again in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And in the short story, Quaid was a professor. And in this, they're sort of implying in this scene coming up here that they're sort of implying that Quaid is some kind of a guest lecturer or professor. They're not even really clear about it.
It looks more like a student to me in this movie. But was he a professor in the short story? I think he was just some guy who hung around the campus.
I thought, I don't know. I can't remember now.
It's kind of ambiguous about that, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the uncut version reveals more about that.
Well, and in this movie, Quaid trashes all their equipment, and then somehow he turns in the paper for them, and he gets a B-.
Yeah,
it's like, what?
It's so weird that Anthony Diblasi, who also wrote this movie and directed, that he did such dramatic changes to the story. He splintered off a couple of characters into more than one character.
Yeah.
He changed Stephen Grace and Quaid. Originally, they're studying like English and philosophy or something in the short story, and here they're just like video students or whatever. And that's that professor that you talked about in the beginning and the opening of the movie. He's teaching them a class, and at first I was like, "Hey, what's this? Cheap Psychology 101?" But then when Stephen Grace and Quaid are talking, he mentions that, I have to take this course, ethics, because it's a requisite or whatever. And so it's like he's taking ethics, okay, and he's going to do a thesis in video editing. It's kind of hard to know exactly what they're doing, but they're more like media students, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way that Stephen and Quaid meet is also very different in the book.
Yeah, so in this conversation here, they're talking about how come you're not going to this 2-hour lecture like it's really important to him.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought he was the guest lecturer, but I don't know. I don't know what Quaid is or what he does other than lives in an old semi-abandoned house.
Yeah, he lives in the house from the Book of Blood.
Yeah.
I know, it did really look like that house, didn't it?
Or Michael Myers' house, I don't know.
Yeah. The guy that played Quaid really didn't get a good sense that he was. I didn't like the performance. The performance was kind of stale.
I think that's probably half of the problems with this movie is the casting of Quaid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very problematic.
The other half is the sort of rewriting.
Yeah, and in the short story, he's described as this guy with like blonde hair, blue eyes, kind of looks like a dope drug pusher. And here he's more like a real, kind of clean cut, kind of bro looking dude.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
very aggressive, very assertive.
Yeah.
So we just missed 3 minute 25 seconds mark there. We just missed them talking about the Beast.
Yeah, that's something you're going to hear a lot of in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and Quaid pushes that a lot, and nobody cares. Nobody, they don't really listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll get to that part later, but it kind of, at the end, Stephen kind of, tells him, face the beast or something like that.
Yeah. Face the beast, touch the beast, fight the beast.
Oh, yeah. And another thing, I think now we're watching the scene, the flashback scene, what happened to Quaid's parents. And I just think it's like the structure here is weird because all of a sudden we're seeing Quaid's story being relayed for no apparent reason. It's just an exposition flashback.
At this point, he's just some guy who the person we think is the main character just ran into in an alley.
Yeah, I mean, he's conveying the backstory of Quaid, but it's like it's just a flashback that its only purpose is exposition, nothing else. They just want to tell you right off the bat, this guy ain't right, you know?
Yeah, right. And he needs to take pills because of this incident that happened when he was a kid.
Yeah.
He sticks his tongue out bathroom mirror. Okay.
I just think that it's too much exposition because it even though the special effects in this scene are amazing, the whole axe killing.
Oh yeah, that is a great shot.
Yeah.
And
this part is pretty horrific.
Yeah. But this movie has, I don't know. It's, I think it just shows too much. You know, I mean, it really shows a lot of backstory.
Well, and in the short story, his fear of clowns was sort of irrational, right? It was just this recurring nightmare that he had.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I was going for, because in the story we never really understand why he's afraid of clowns, and he just had this fear of clowns and people being killed with axes. Yeah, right. But it's not
and this
clear
is
why.
sort of this weird attempt to make us feel sorry for Quaid, and through this whole movie, Quaid is just an ass. I mean, he's
not a sympathetic character.
Yeah, and we're supposed to, be following him along on his journey and his, facing his fears. And why are we supposed to care about him?
Yeah. Actually, I wanted him dead pretty fast throughout the film. I didn't like him.
Yeah. But I got to say, this scene is amazing. I mean, as a horror movie, this moment is pretty good. I mean, I'm not going to trash the whole movie. I know this was Diblasi's first job directing.
It's well shot. The lighting in it's wonderful.
Yeah. It's shot in a way that I think it's pretty attractive. And this scene, it's just creepy as hell. I mean, it reminds me of that Nightbreed with Decker and the little kid at the top of the stairs.
Yeah, exactly.
And the killer with the axe kind of reminds me of like Michael Myers in the Rob Zombie movies.
I thought of Jack Nicholson from The Shining.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah, there's really there's no explanation about who that guy is or why he did that either. He's just some random crazy guy that just decided to come in and kill people in the house.
Sure, that kind of makes it more scary, I guess.
Yeah.
So here's the girl with the port wine mark.
Yeah, and the thing that bugs me about this is that. She really likes him, and he has no interest in her at all, which makes sort of our main character a sort of superficial,
I think he's more interested in being just friends with her. And
and they don't really go into why. It's just, I mean, it's so the only thing that the only explanation we get is like, well, because nobody likes her because she's got a birthmark.
Yeah, I think it's. They wanted to make the story a little more complex. So in the original story, the triangle is between Stephen Quaid and Cheryl.
And this character doesn't exist at all.
And this character doesn't exist. And then this
surprisingly, I actually ended up liking that character the most out of all the characters in the movie, for me personally.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's the most sympathetic for sure.
My first go around with this movie, I thought that Abby was an actress with a real birthmark like that, but that's not true.
No. Hey, Quaid lives in a cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
I know. Well,
it's like I expected.
It really does.
Yeah, and in the short story, it was more like a house in the middle of an industrial area that was.
Very urban.
Yeah.
It kind of
and it was just a place that nobody would go around to.
Right.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that house that Brad Pitt lives in, the Fight Club. He lives in like this secluded...
The Paper Street house?
Yeah.
House on Paper Street? Yeah.
Yeah, and then Stephen would go in there and be just like Quaid with a megaphone saying, "You are nothing, you are dirt," and a bunch of guys digging the yard. Just like on Fight Club.
I haven't seen that movie since it came out.
Yeah, one of the things, and here we go. This actor who plays Quaid, he's from Liverpool, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and in this movie, they turned him into a painter, kind of like a Clive Barker figure in a way.
Yes, except he's not a good painter.
And he trashes his paintings after he's done.
Well, although his paintings are a lot better than...
I was going to say, you're going to say with the guy from Transmutation.
Yeah, Roy. He's a way better painter than Roy.
Yeah.
Oh, I think... Was it in this movie that I think once our friend David told me that the paintings are attributed in the credits to Rocco Peverelli or something, which was like Clive Barker's paternal grandfather name?
Oh.
I'm not sure. I know that there was something, some connection there, but I kind of forgot about it now. Speaking of the Port Wine Girl, I remember when they started the viral marketing for this movie. I think I remember seeing on, was it Shock Till You Drop or Bloody Disgusting? I think it was bloodydisgusting.com. And I remember reading August 5, 2008, Dread viral campaign begins with creepy art. So they were saying, this morning we received a very peculiar email from a reader who calls himself Quaid. What was inside was a piece of art and a story behind the work with the word dread capitalized. Could this be the start of a viral campaign for the latest Clive Barker Books of Blood adaptation?
Oh.
And so the picture was Abby. It was a picture of Abby's body, a painting. And the message that came with this was, this is a picture I painted of a girl named Abby. She has a port wine birthmark covering half her body, her leg, her stomach, her breast, her face. Abby's going to participate in our fear study, going to share with us her deepest dread, in capital letters. Mm-hmm. Abby learned at a very young age that she would always be the subject of scrutiny. She confided in me, and all she wants is to be normal. Would you like to be part of our fear study? Quaid. So this was the start of the viral campaign, and there were a lot of things that were images that were released during the marketing of this movie. Some of them were actually watercolors by Anthony Diblasi.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. We'll add those.
You showed some of those to me earlier, I think. They were pretty cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if this actor Quaid is overdoing an American accent, too.
It sounds a little off in some moments, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Maybe he was having problems with it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Possibly.
And there's really no reason for him to even have to do an American accent. It wouldn't matter that much.
I mean, it was the story's set in London, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or no, or was it just shot in London? Or maybe I'm thinking.
Oh no, well, the short story is set in England. Who knows where this is set?
Yeah, I'm not sure where the movie takes place, but definitely the short story takes place.
Yeah, but there's no reason that guy couldn't have been English. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, you're right.
It seems like they're adding an extra complication that they didn't need to.
In some ways, the story was kind of Americanized for the movie.
Yeah.
Because in the original movie, they're talking about having a pint of lager, and they're talking about attending a seminar in Charles Dickens as a social analyst. And in this one, it's more like an American campus. They're at a club, they're meeting girls.
And there's there's strip clubs, which seem like they're in the same building.
Yeah.
And and parties, and I don't know. It just is more about the college lifestyle, I guess.
Oh, it was shot at a campus in Egham near London, where the original Omen was photographed.
Oh, really?
There you go.
Too.
Also, we missed another mention of Touch the Beast at 11 minutes and 57 seconds.
Well, that's 2 times. We'll keep a count.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, the way that they come up with a fear study idea is kind of like random and abrupt in this movie, while in the story it's more like a natural evolution of the discussions they were having as friends, as a friend group. They were talking about fear and all that stuff. There's a lot more development of that, how they delve into that idea of fear. Here it's like Quaid is, hey, what if we did a fear study, project for your thesis? And the other guy's like, oh, okay, sure, why not? And it just comes out of nowhere. I think in the story, in Clive Barker's story in the Books of Blood, it's a little more developed, how they get to that idea.
Yeah. I think the casting is not bad with Cheryl and with Steve and Abby. I think that casting is all fine.
Yeah. The Blassie, he wanted the film to have a loose documentary style kind of to it. It does kind of have that kind of feel or vibe.
Mm-hmm. Oh, chase the beast. She said it, I think, or he said it. Oh,
yeah, he just said it on mine. I am like 4 or 5 seconds behind you guys.
And this is where the fear study and the dreadheads thing starts, which, man, I hate this part.
Which they downplayed it, at least in this version of the movie that we have. Really, you just see their T-shirts, and that's it.
I just think the house where Quaid lives looks so bleak and dreary. It's like...
Yeah, why did they use that space? They could have done it on campus somewhere.
He didn't even light his cigarette there. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't.
Sorry, I just noticed that he didn't light it at all.
Oh, and this is where they get all the people to talk about their fears, and it's like, oh, I don't like, moisture, or some guy saying, oh, my pubes started growing cheese. And
I know that was.
What the hell does this have to do with Dredd?
I know.
They're just trying to set up how disappointed Quaid is going to be with this, and how he needs to push it further because this is so boring and stupid.
And this guy who says, I don't believe in anything. It's just, I'm sorry, this part is really bad. This is like one of the worst parts of the movie, because in the story, this is something, and I was saying this to David earlier on our page. Here's what I was telling him, because I talked about this, and he was like, oh, I'm looking forward to seeing Jose go rant 90 minutes about this movie. But one of the things I said was, where is that? Here it is. Yeah. I said, I hate how they brought up the Dreadheads video thesis thing in the movie. They totally killed a short story's plausibility of having weird conversations with your friends in college. It had to become a campus sensation. Everybody wanted to talk about their fears gladly. If you're willing to talk about what really scares you, you do it privately with someone you love and respects you, not some guy on campus with a camera. I mean, honestly, that's how I feel. I mean, if someone asks...
Things like that, yeah. Things like that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Need to be intimate.
Yeah, what are your intimate fears? What's the thing that scares you the most? I'm not going to say that to, some guy who asks me that for like a college project. No, I can say that to my wife or my best friend. It's like, oh, I'm really scared about this or that. But it's like these people, they're not even talking about actual real fears. They're just saying, I don't like moisture or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a very popsy kind of montage scene here.
And Cheryl's backstory about why she's a vegetarian seems heavy-handed. Did they really need to tie her vegetarianism to sexual assault and abuse, being molested?
Incest. That kind of comes out of nowhere, and I didn't. Yeah, like you said, heavy-handed. I think
it's enough to be a vegetarian. I mean, the scene would work exactly the same.
And it's better when, like in the story, people don't really explain where their fear comes from that much.
Yeah.
And that's what Quaid wants to find out. But here, everybody hands it over in a platter, like, "Oh, I'm scared of this because this happened to me when I was this year."
Yeah,
old.
You're right. It's a totally different. Clive Barker's Dread was about irrational fears.
Yeah. Like when they ask Quaid about his fear in the short story. He says it's beyond. What did he say? Beyond words or something. He can't even put it in words.
Yeah. So at this point, he hasn't dumped his pills down the sink yet, right? He's just being a jerk, stomping on his watch and.
I never understood.
Acting like a baby. He acts like a baby throughout the whole movie.
Yeah,
he throws a lot of tantrums.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was no reason for this tantrum at all. I mean, like your watch annoys me. That's not really. I don't know. They don't. It's not sold very well.
The thing is,
at this point, this scene is pointless, except to say that there's something a little off about Quaid.
That's right, especially the way he's going to interrupt her at the end.
Yeah.
So you think some more editing could have been done to tighten it up some? To get rid of some of the fluff?
No, I mean, I think the problem is the writing.
I think so, too. I think the problem is that they changed the characters too much.
Yeah.
And for example, Quaid isn't seductive at all like he is in the story. He's not someone you would want to have a lot of conversations with. He sounds like a guy that's great if you want to go out and pick up girls at a club and hang out with him because he's like an artist who, has a lot of, naked girls around him all the time. But in the story, it's more like he's the kind of guy that kind of seduces you with the conversations that he can come up with, and he kind of like a guru. I think they actually mean that. They say that in the story in the beginning. It was an age of gurus. Like in the campus, people would love to find someone that they could follow, and then
Yeah. So he was kind of a philosopher about fear and death.
Yeah. Here it's more like Cheryl saw them about to fight, and she's like, all right, well, interview me. But then it's like that story in Gremlin, the little girl telling the story about her dad going down the chimney. It comes out of nowhere, and it's really extreme. And you go like, whoa, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
and the other thing, I think that in the short story, the idea that that Quaid is trying to face his own fear through other people is subtle. And here it's just really blatant and laid out for you in the dialogue.
Yeah.
That he says the safest way to touch the beast is, experience other people facing their fears vicariously or whatever.
Didn't you make a comment about this scene, Ron? Something about the pills?
Oh, I'm not there yet.
Oh, sorry.
They're still talking to Cheryl right now.
Oh.
Yeah, he just interrupted her about the trauma.
And 6 minutes ago, we had another mention of Chase the Beast. So I've been missing them because I have the sound turned off low. So I just
my sound's really low too.
Yeah. But this scene kind of doesn't really go anywhere. It's just more like to give Cheryl a chance to explain where her fear comes from.
Yeah. And now they're turning the camera on Quaid, and he won't do it, and it's kind of like.
Yeah, and it just
how could he not have expected this to come up?
Exactly, because it's all about being extreme and sharing, your fears and
it's
stuff.
Like, oh, wait, me? No, not me. That's everybody else.
Right. And do you guys understand exactly why he throws his pills away?
No, I don't.
I didn't until this last time I watched it the other night, and I was thinking he must be prescribed this stuff from a psychiatrist, and he's got antipsychotic medication.
Yeah. Because
he really goes off the deep end at this point after he stops taking his pills.
Yeah, I think it's because maybe he couldn't talk about his fears, and maybe that made him feel weak. And so maybe he thinks that the pills were making him weak, and he decides to go without them. That was what I kind of took out of the scene.
Well, and putting all those pills down the sink is just going to clog up the drain.
Yeah, that's the comment you made.
Yeah.
Hey, at least that sink's not going to be psychotic.
Yeah.
So, he starts having another flashback nightmare.
Yeah. And I guess this is supposed to be, he didn't take his pills, so the nightmares are back.
I like this scene, though. I like the nightmare scene. It's really good. It's really well shot.
Yeah.
Kid doing some finger painting and blood.
Oh, God, that's so creepy. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Dexter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know. Oh, yeah.
Because I like that show.
Yeah.
Decapitation. For all the gorehounds.
On mine, he's just now getting out of bed. So I don't know how far ahead you guys are. It's like 10 seconds. Maybe?
I'm hearing someone who might be a little ahead of me because I heard Stephen, he's in the house. I'm still in the part where he's looking through the door and he's seeing Stephen fall asleep. I think.
That's where I am too. He's just looking at Stephen right now.
Yeah. So of course, Quaid has to have a house with a creepy basement.
Yeah. So this is kind of one of those Nightmare on Elm Street moments where people think that they're awake, but then it turns out that it's actually a dream.
Uh-huh. And
because they're waking up and getting out of bed in their dream.
That's weird when you have a dream that you woke up from a dream and then you wake up and you realize that, I still have to get ready for work, even though you just dreamt that you wake up and took a shower.
So this dream, this nightmare, sort of, it's different from his account of the events because he says he just ran away and he doesn't know how he escaped.
Mm-hmm.
But in this dream, he's just sitting there while the killer is chopping up his parents.
Right. Well, dreams sometimes are not. Most times they're not really like how things happen. It's more like.
Well, but they are in movies.
Yeah, I could see that because they use them for exposition, really.
Yeah. So we don't. It's not really clear here whether that's dream logic or if it's just a memory.
So I got my notes here. The guy who played Quaid is called Sean Evans, and he's from Liverpool, and he was in movies like Cashback from 2006.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, I don't either.
Me neither.
But he's got a glove and a ball.
Yeah.
Nobody to play catch with.
Huh. again, here we go. Oh, my parents were killed when I was 6, and they were murdered right in front of my eyes. We never hear that from Quaid in the story. This is like something that kind of maybe implied in a way,
Yeah.
But it's.
So you guys think it was just.
If there was some kind of a fear that you wouldn't be able to sell their fears if they weren't based on some tragic event in their life.
Yes, because in the book you can kind of go into the inner workings or inner thoughts of the character, but in the movie it's kind of hard to do that without having some sort of narration going on.
Yeah.
So you have to be a little more blunt about these things.
But I think that if he just had nightmares of the clown dragging the axe up the stairs, that would have been enough.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember in the short story, Stephen's fear of being deaf. Was that from a real event or was that?
Yeah.
I think it was.
It was from an event. I think he had been hit by a car or something and that had made him go deaf for a short period of time.
Yeah. Which is the same in this movie, except they put that on a different character.
Yeah.
Yeah. That didn't even exist in the book. This guy.
Yeah. I don't even understand why they did it. He's one of the guys who's being interviewed for the fear study. And it's like, as a character, he's totally two-dimensional. He's only there for, like, just strictly for that whole scene of the ears and stuff. And
it seemed like it was for the purpose of preserving Stephen for this, battle at the end.
Yeah, and also, I mean, in the story, it's much more devious the way that Quaid goes about doing his experiment on Cheryl. Because it's someone that he actually almost gets in a relationship with. He does get in a relationship with Cheryl. Quaid at one point starts dating her, and then Stephen says, "Oh, Quaid seemed to start shaving a little more, looked a little better. He was hanging around with Cheryl all the time, and then he betrays her by doing an experiment on her. In this one, he just picks up this random guy from the campus that happened to be in their fear study, kidnaps him, and forces him into going through that whole experiment where he's deaf."
Yeah. And this thing with the car, I think this is kind of pointless.
It was. I didn't really see the point of this again.
And then it's like, is it whose car is it? Is it Quaid's car now?
No, he
or is it
bought it off of
car?
Craig. Yeah, well, I guess Quaid bought it off of Craigslist for $1,200, and he offered it to Stephen.
Well, I think he said he's letting him drive it. I don't know if he's offering it to him or not.
Oh, okay. I thought he said it's for you.
Well, he did, but then he drives it around. Quaid's driving it around later in the movie.
Yeah, because Stephen doesn't want to drive it.
Yeah.
Because it reminds him of what happened to his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of... I'm kind of annoyed how this character got turned into a scapegoat. Just like, we don't want to do this horrible thing to our main character, so we'll use this guy.
Yeah, he doesn't really have much of a story arc.
No.
Well, he just shows up for those 2 scenes?
Yeah. Or 3 if you count this one.
Yeah.
There's some good music in this movie. Kind of dates it a little bit, maybe, but...
Yeah.
I just think that this movie misses, like, a big chunk of the story that was really good. Like, the whole thing that happens with Stephen Grace. I mean, the whole story the part of the story where he gets experimented on by Quaid, I think that's what sells the story for me. That whole sequence. That and the sequence with Cheryl's photos.
Yeah.
That Quaid shows Stephen.
Yeah, which they changed that into a video, which is okay. I mean, I think that was okay to change that a little bit.
Yeah.
This really looks like a set. It doesn't look like a real bar to me for some reason.
I'm not at the bar yet.
Sorry.
We can try like pausing the movie like just 3 or 4 seconds to
Yeah,
catch
I
up
am.
with each other.
I'm going to do that right now.
Okay, I'm seeing the woman on the pole in the strip bar right now.
Okay,
and if you look,
Quaid is outside of a building and he just threw his cigarette and he's going down some stairs.
I'm going to have to pause a little bit longer here.
Okay, now there's the woman on the pole.
And then if you pay attention on the left side of the screen, you see a blonde woman tipping another stripper. That's hot.
Oh, yeah.
So I would like to know, how can Quaid just sneak into the backstage of a strip club without nobody seeing him. Because that wouldn't fly in real life.
Yeah, and he can just walk in there, and they're cool with it.
Yeah, he wanted to get his model to pose for him again. But there's another awesome scene coming up right now. I mean, this scene is really good. This is another scene that I really like.
His flashback?
Yeah, this kind of
his psychotic episode. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is really good. I really like this one, even though it doesn't really have anything to do with the short story.
You know, when I was getting ready to, when I was watching this to prepare, and I saw this, I was thinking, why he's not selling this very well? Why is he having this psychotic break? And then that made me think back. He must have been on antipsychotic medication.
Yeah, that's probably it. You're right. Like this,
because otherwise this doesn't make sense. Just because you had a traumatic experience doesn't mean you actually believe that all this crazy stuff is happening.
Right. But that scene with the bottle and the blood and the stripper effects, the makeup and the CGI they use in this, that is so amazing. I really enjoy this part.
Yeah.
It's really creepy. This is one of the good parts of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to rant the whole movie about Anthony Diblasi. The thing I rant the most about this movie is really, like you said, Ryan, it's the writing. I just don't like what he did to the story. But the movie has parts that are really good and creepy, like this one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just amazing. Even the way that one of the cuts is appearing on her body, and it cuts the panties on one side, and you can see it just like... It's really good. I mean, it's really good. The special effects are amazing. Unfortunately, you can't just sell a movie based on special effects.
Yeah.
Here's Abby. Wait, Abby? No, Cheryl. And also, they mentioned this thing where Stephen is obsessed about setting his alarm for all sorts of tasks in his daily life, but it never really goes anywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't pay off.
It doesn't pay off. There's no payoff to that.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, now you can hear your beeps again." It's like, okay.
Yeah.
What?
Quaid smashes his clock because he was tired of that alarm clock going off all the time, even though they only show it like once or twice. Yeah. But there was no payoff to this, I thought, this subplot.
And here, Abby only wants to be in this movie because she likes him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he can't figure... Either he knows it and he doesn't care, or he can't figure it out.
He's kind of a weak... Not weak, but he's kind of like a character that's a little in the wind, I guess.
Yeah.
He's kind of like a guy who just follows things.
Yeah.
He doesn't really...
He lets everybody else make his decisions for him.
Yeah. I think that's what they're going for. So when she shows affection for him, he just kind of rides it out a little bit, but then at the last moment, he backs out.
Yeah. Because he likes Cheryl.
Yeah. Again, this story here with Abby, it's not a bad story. I like this story as well.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with adding things to sort of flesh out a story. Like Midnight Meat Train added a lot, but it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
But making fundamental changes, I guess, to the theme of the movie or of the story, or to the
characters.
Yeah, the characters. Although I guess the main character of Midnight Meat Train is totally different. Than he was.
Well, they gave him that background of being like a photographer and stuff like that. But for some reason, that worked.
Yeah, because it would have been a half-an-hour movie if it was a direct...
Yeah.
So this character, I think this like kind of an attempt to... I wouldn't say body horror, but trying to introduce an element of like... not body horror, but like awkwardness in terms of like not liking or not liking who you are, or not liking the way you are.
She feels like a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her story arc is really gruesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's, like you said, Rob, she's one of the most sympathetic characters in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Actually, this is one of those characters I don't think it was a bad addition to the story.
No. And this arc helped, give it movie length.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was a good addition.
The actress who played her was Laura Donnelly. I don't know what else she's been in. This could have been one of her first roles.
Yeah. When I was watching this last night, I looked her up on IMDb just to see if she had the birthmark or not.
Yeah.
They did a good job with that.
Yeah,
it looks totally
real.
So, in answer to the question that someone asked a while ago, I'm reading from the press release of the movie. It says, produced with Cinema 3, the UK-based production and financing vehicle set up by Matador Pictures and boutique finance house Regent Capital. Dredd shot for 5 weeks on location in London.
Okay.
Why they go to so much trouble to make it to make everybody American and then set it in England?
Yeah. Also, the shoot ran through October and November of 2008.
So it was shot roughly around the same time as Midnight Meat Train, but released later.
Oh yeah. I mean, on the revelatory interview with Phil and Sarah Stokes of 28 February and 7th March 2009, he's talking about the release of Midnight Meat Train on DVD, and he's also talking about Dredd. And so one of the things that Clive Barker says is, he says, I'm very pleased with the movie. He's talking about Midnight Meat Train. And then he says, I have to tell you, and I am incredibly pleased with what Diblasi's done with Dredd. Oh, my God. That's Clive Barker's statement about this.
It was said he supported the changes to the story that Diblasi had done, so I thought that was interesting.
Well, and the thing with Clive Barker is that he likes people to be able to make something their own.
Yeah.
And he wants to support people being artistic, and it's hard, because we want it to be as faithful as possible.
Yeah. That's the fans inside of us.
Yeah.
What's really strange is that in the 21st revelatory interview of 11 April 2008, Clive was saying that Anthony's going to start shooting Dredd in Scotland in June. Dredd will be modest. It won't be a huge movie. It's essentially a haunted house story. It doesn't have a lot of prosthetics and so on. It's very realistic. It's not fantastical, and he's written an amazing script. So that will be the second of the movies we're making from the books. So, and then what throws me off in this statement from Clive is that he says it's essentially a haunted house story. And I think at this point, maybe Clive was confusing the two script adaptations of Dredd, because there was a previous adaptation by Drew McWeeny. He's one of the editors from Ain't It Cool News, and I think he did some stuff. I think he was involved with Saint Sinner, although don't quote me on that because I may be wrong. But that story was about this haunted house thing, and there was like a professor, and the professor was doing a study on fear, and there were these kids running around. They were pranking each other, and it was just terrible.
You have to send me that script. I'd like to check it out.
We did an episode about this, didn't we, Ryan?
Yeah, we did.
I'll try to find out which episode that was.
I can't remember if it was in the Books of Blood episode about Dredd or if we made a special one just to talk about that script.
Yeah.
We might have done a special episode just about that one, like we did with the Hellraiser 3 script. So
the Midnight Show Pictures was this production sub thing that they created to adapt stories from the Books of Blood, right?
Yeah. So Pig's Blood Blues was another one.
Yeah, he wrote a script for that, Andrew.
Yeah. And then the Damnation Game.
Yeah, God, that was terrible. So I only read like 30 pages of that and had to stop.
Yeah. Diblasi was executive producer in Midnight Meat Train, so he wrote and directed Dredd, and he wrote the script adaptation for the Damnation Game, where Anthony Breer, the Razor Eater, was changed into some guy who owned a Lamborghini stand, and he drove around a yellow Lamborghini.
With bull horns on the front.
Yeah, he was related to what I read. He was related to he's like the cousin of like who was
Mammalian, or
no the woman.
Paris.
Yeah, he was related to those people.
Yeah,
that's right.
Then that's where I stopped. I was like, did you even read the book?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a point where you have to come. when you're talking about this does have ideas or themes taken from the story, but I don't mean to go on a tangent on that script.
And to be fair to that script, I mean, this script could have been that bad to start with and may have been, honed it down and refined and stuff to where it's at now.
I just want to say that this scene where Quaid is talking to Abby, that's Abby, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
This scene, I like this scene as well. It's kind of nice, but again, this isn't Quaid, so to me it's a little out of place.
I don't like his dialogue about what sexy is, just because his voice and his face are annoying.
Yeah.
I know.
Like the fact that he says sexy is unique. That's kind of a cool approach to sexiness. Yeah. Some cool nightclubs.
Now, where are y'all guys at in the movie? Because I might be
she just said, "Will you paint me?" And they're walking out the door right now.
I'm looking at the painting of her without the birthmark. It's just a zoom into that. I guess I'm going to pause a couple of seconds.
No, that's where I am too.
Okay. Now they're doing marshmallows.
Yep.
Okay, there's
Yeah, I think we're
pretty much in the same
really close to you now, Jose, like half a second or something.
I think it's interesting that Quaid painted her without the birthmark.
Yeah.
It's kind of symbolic. It's kind of a cool thing that he did, like to show her that she's pretty.
Yeah. Well, and then he totally betrays her later.
Yeah, no, yeah, it just
and that part seems like it seems forced.
Mm-hmm.
And then here, his relationship with Cheryl, does she even know that she's in a relationship with him? Maybe.
I think so. I mean, they're kissing.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that, he does this to Abby. I really did care about this character, not just to have him,
Yeah.
That's right.
That's pretty creepy right there. I forgot about that little part.
Well, she gets after Quaid smashes all the equipment, she blames Steven and won't talk to him anymore. Which
that's right.
That part I don't get either, and I totally don't get why he broadcasts this video of her all over the campus. Well, first of all, how does he do that? They're like, oh, this is playing on every TV all across campus. It's like, was that a magic power?
Yeah. God, some of the teachers couldn't even get the projection system to work in a single classroom.
Yeah.
Never mind get all the TVs on campus to do the same thing.
Yeah, and he's not even a teacher, I guess. He's just some guy.
I do like how they shot like the characters in complete blackness sometimes, where they look like silhouettes. You'll see what I'm.
There's a lot of green and yellow in this movie. That kind of that
a lot of muted colors.
Yeah, that art direction kind of bugs me a little bit.
It abuses a little bit the orange and teal kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That they use for movie posters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right, Ron. His face is really annoying.
And in this scene, he's talking to an empty chair, right? There's not even a camera.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
So here's another quote that Clive said in 2009. He says, "I am incredibly pleased with what Diblasi's done with Dredd. Oh my God, I've seen two cuts of it now, and he's been laying music in, temporary music, obviously. And what I see is a movie that has a documentary reality of Friedkin around the time of the French Connection, when he was really in amidst of everything, when the camera was right there with Doyle, and I suppose with The Exorcist around the same period." So that's kind of high praise from Clive about this movie.
Yeah. I'm sure as long as Clive was happy with it, the director,
also, let's
Anthony
be honest
Diblasi,
here,
was
when you're
pretty
promoting
happy.
a movie, you're not going to talk trash about it if you want it to succeed.
Oh, that's true.
I think that's
keep forgetting about
really,
that.
Really big part of that, because it's not, he doesn't go out of his way to talk about how great Dredd is now.
Yeah, you don't hear him. Yeah, you don't see him bringing that up in any new interviews or anything.
And a lot of people really like this movie, and I think there are, like you said, there are parts that are good, but we'll get to it at the end, but it's a real sort of a betrayal of the core audience of this movie, what happens at the ending.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, a few years after, Clive Barker started saying a few other different things about the movie. One of them was in 2010. He said on Green Cine Daily, he said, right from the beginning, Anthony Diblasi and I felt the best way to move forward was to share our vision as broadly as possible. We would dissolve the conventional walls that divide an actor from a producer. The consequence of this restructuring is that I could no longer use people's faces or actions as an easy way out from when the narrative wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. Repression can be a form of self-sacrifice. We all have our own personal experiences that gnaw at the backs of our minds with flickering tongues, but the trick is finding out how to silence them. And in 2013, Clive Barker just says, I like the film of Dread. I enjoy having a minor role in helping another creator take a story of mine in his or her direction, but in the end, the film belongs to its new interpreter, not to me. And I think this shows that Clive is setting a little bit of a distance now between the
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not as much as he did from Hellraiser Revelations, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this scene, this scene is a little kind of annoyed me too, because it seems like its purpose is just to put these Stephen and Cheryl at odds with Quaid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, oh, you really overreacted there. It's like, oh yeah, well now I'm going to smash all your computers. But she did, and why did this character come in here with her pretend story and her elaborate her elaborate neck makeup? I mean, who would do that?
Yeah, I mean, we already got the montage with the people doing the fear study thing.
Yeah,
This just feels like it should have been cut. Or,
Yeah.
I don't know what it.
they could have.
Padding a little bit.
Yeah, and they could have just had somebody with a weak story or a lame story, and they would have had the same effect. They didn't need to have this woman with her elaborate made-up crap.
Unless this scene is about Quaid saying, this is not just, I don't care about your thesis. This is real to me, kind of how it really is meaningful to him on a more primal level.
It's like, why would she come in with makeup? And how did Quaid realize that was makeup?
Yeah.
How did he know she was lying? I mean, that's
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's supposed to be that he knows fear better than anybody, so that's why. But
okay.
But
I can see that.
it's not sold very well.
No. And so here's Anthony Diblasi's statement about the movie. He says, in my opinion, I stayed very true to the short story. It's that kind of thing that for the people who've seen it, it definitely splits an audience. And I think that people who really love books sometimes really get angry at films, because they're like, oh my God, they didn't put that in. And for me, I think I put every ounce in from the short story into the film.
No.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
oh, nice. I caught that.
And for me, I think I put every ounce from the short story into the film. Now, sometimes I didn't always use it.
Not put everything in, but he even made fun of an integral part of the short story. Like Quaid says, fear of clowns, like give me a break or whatever.
Yeah. And it says, now sometimes I didn't always use it with the same characters that do it in the book. I think the biggest change that you are going to see in the film from the short story is I altered Stephen Grace's trauma and his backstory, and ultimately the climax. I supplemented that character with another character named Joshua, played by Jonathan Rhys-Davies, who kind of takes on the role of Stephen in the short story. So although things are different, everything is there. And for me, the most important thing, and it is almost essentially word for word from the short story, is the scene with the meat. That is in the movie, full on, almost exactly as it is in the short story. Because for me, that is the most important thing. That was the crux of that short story. So that is in the film in its entirety.
Well, he even describes how she, sat down and had some glasses of water and stayed for a couple hours and then she left, which is really what happened in the short story.
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh no, twist ending.
I disagree with what his own defense of this. I don't think that he did a good job adapting the story. Again, it was his first movie directing, so I'll cut him some slack on that. But it's like, hey, Clive Barker's first movie that he directed became a classic and a seminal work of the horror film. But
Quaid is not a good enough hero, a good enough horror movie villain to get to win and come back later. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think that he says the crux of the story is the girl with the meat. I think that simplifies the story a little too much. I think the part with Stephen Grace meeting Quaid, and the part where he goes through that whole experiment with the getting his ears clamped shut, and then the effect that it causes on his psyche, and then he ends up going to a homeless shelter, and then he comes back to bite Quaid in the proverbial butt. I think that is genius. That whole thing, that the story arc is just so gracefully wrapped in at the end. I mean, and in this one, it's just the story is all fragmented, and it's all like, I don't know, it's full of stuff that doesn't even belong.
Yeah. Well, and the thing, I mean, we haven't gotten to it yet, but the thing with the glasses over the ears, and it's like that was stupid. I mean, he had real, decent earplugs and a good system for making him feel deaf in the. So this is what I was talking about before. This doesn't make any sense. How did he turn in this project when he smashed the computer and it was all a video on their computer?
Who knows? Maybe he had backups.
Well, he did say he had backups. That's right. But he would have had to do all the editing himself.
I mean,
there's
a lot of moments in this movie that don't make a lot of sense. Like, okay, yeah, sure, Quaid smashes his wristwatch, but then he gives him a $1,200 car that he got from Craigslist. In this book, in this short story, these are kind of not poor, but, kind of like the college students that don't have a lot of money that they can spend around. Like in the beginning of the story, Stephen is wondering, hey, can I afford another pint, or should I just stick with this warm beer for the next couple of hours while I'm sitting here at the bar? Because he can't afford another one. And then Quaid comes in and buys him another beer or whiskey or whatever.
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah, sure. So Quaid has a lot of disposable income, but we don't really get where he gets it from.
Yeah. We don't even really know if he's a student.
Yeah, yeah.
So
here's the scene with Abby.
Cheryl.
Yeah, Cheryl.
So she snuck in to try to take the hard drive, but he already turned the project in. And she already got a grade for it.
Did she get an A-?
B+, I think.
Oh, okay.
And Quaid got double D's that night.
Oh, God.
I guess this is going to have the explicit tag.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like the whole story about that guy's brother dying and driving in this car and stuff. It's like that really doesn't really go anywhere.
No, it doesn't. And he's supposed to be scaring him, but I think he's just making him mad.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not really selling the central thesis of this movie that,
fear.
Oh, yeah. Boy. I got in my notes here a quote from Jackson Rathbone, who played Stephen. And I love this quote. It's so funny. He says, "I hate to call it a horror film because it's really it's really more of a psychological thriller. Clive Barker's known for those horroristic elements, and it was more of a humanistic story. I was considering doing the project, so I gave it to a friend of mine to read. He read it, and he got to the end and was like, dude, it made me want to vomit. So I was like, yep, doing this project. That's awesome."
Yeah.
So that's the quote from Jackson Rathbone.
Was that the script he had shown somebody?
Yeah.
Or the short story?
This is from the MTV Movie blog.
Ah, gotcha. You found some good stuff on this, Jose. I really had a hard time finding stuff. I only had one Fangoria.
Yeah.
So and then at the end of this, after they, almost crash the car, which is coming up here in a second, but Quaid seems genuinely mystified. Why is Stephen walking away? Wait, I don't understand. I thought we were friends.
This scene reminds me of that movie with Nicolas Cage where he wins the lottery and then he promises to split the prize with a waitress. And
I don't know that one.
That's what Bridget Fonda, isn't it? I think so.
I don't remember, but
I don't
there's a scene where this woman, I think she was in a plane crash or something, and she was holding her baby when the plane fell, and the baby died, and then it's like Nicolas Cage gets her in a car, gives her like a set of tools to hold, and then he drives against a wall just to show her that she would never be able to hold on to her baby, and they crash into the wall, and they end up in the hospital. What movie am I thinking of? I forgot. Maybe someone else.
I know what you're saying. He plays a cop, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, I think so, yeah. And the waitress is like a Latino woman, an actress? I forgot.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the title, though.
Yeah, it's okay. That's what this scene reminds me of. That scene where he's trying to crash a car to make like some sort of cathartic event to help someone. And this is kind of what Quaid is trying to do to Stephen, but it kind of backfires.
Yeah.
So really, it's like I'm already losing interest in this movie, and we're just at the 1 hour mark, which means we still have 34 minutes more.
I know.
On Earth. Torture ourselves for you.
Yeah, well, and the movie starts going downhill. And you start, I mean, pardon the expression, but you start dreading coming to the end, which is...
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. So, okay, so Cheryl is in Quaid's house, right?
She's been there for a long time. And why didn't she just grab the stupid hard drive and leave? Well,
Yeah.
why
She
does
said
she
she was
feel
looking for
like
a
she
light-
needs
she
to
was, like, looking
investigate
for a light
Quaid's
bulb.
life? She doesn't like him. And it's not like she's trying to prove that he's some kind of criminal mastermind. Oh, she really was looking for a light bulb. What was the light bulb for? I don't understand. This is weak.
Yeah.
Wait, she could have just grabbed the hard drive and left.
Yeah.
You know, I saw this movie not too long ago to prepare for this, and I also can't tell you why she was getting that light bulb.
And she really did. And she told him she was looking for a light bulb. And I thought last time I watched it, that was an excuse for her snooping around. But she really was looking for a light bulb. But I don't know what for.
Because she had to go to Quaid's house and look around his creepy basement, I guess.
Yeah, I need a light
that's just
bulb
an
for that.
excuse to move the story along.
Yeah. She could have been just grabbing the hard drive when she got caught. I mean, but
Sure.
they had to have a reveal of he didn't really trash the paintings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of curious to see the uncut version now, if it kind of ties up these little questions we're
I
asking.
don't know. I hope, we didn't really prepare people for, multiple versions. I didn't know that
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Oh, so it turns out that he doesn't really... Well, yeah, she found Quaid's secret stash of trashed paintings.
Yeah. So the other version is 10 minutes longer, right?
14 minutes longer.
14
Yeah,
minutes. That's
a good bit
quite
of
a bit.
footage. Yeah.
Kind of like the Lord of Illusions director's cut and the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
So it seems that Quaid is trying to exorcise his own demons by acting like the monster. Like he paints beautiful women and then he says, oh, I just trash them afterwards. But really what he does is he gets the painting of the woman, like he steals her image, but then he kind of paints over them like all these like axe wounds. Like he's doing it to them what was done to his parents.
Yeah.
That's kind of messed up.
Yeah. Well, and then I hate this when he comes in, this line, oh, if it looks like madness, then it must be right.
Yeah. Okay, she's saying she was trying to salvage the hard drive. I guess with a light bulb somehow. Yeah, it's just weird. I think that this is where the story just lost me, really. I mean, after the whole scene where he gives... He delivers his thesis and, the whole car scene and now this. It's like, it's just completely like killed it for me. I'm no longer interested in it. And so, so there was that viral campaign. We're going to add that to the show notes.
Yeah, and then the Dreadheads thing just really was only in their T-shirts, and it didn't make sense on their T-shirts because they were just doing a class project. Why do they need to have special T-shirts for it?
God knows.
And they weren't even on camera. I mean, they were behind the camera.
Oh, man, I was looking for stuff for my notes for this commentary, and I found this forum called Friday Nightmare where someone wrote Clive Barker's Dread. And the first reply to that is, "You scared me shitless. I thought this said Clive Barker's dead."
Oh, no.
God. That would have been bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that viral marketing stuff with the port wine painting, it said, some people are stained on the inside.
Oh.
I'm assuming they're talking about Quaid.
Okay, so how did he get her in? Did he hit her in the head too?
Something probably like that. I would assume so.
It just sort of, he's got all this time to prepare the room. Has she been knocked out for hours?
I would assume so, yeah. That has to be the only explanation.
Yeah. I mean, she's uncomfortable around him. She doesn't want to hang around there.
Yeah, she has no reason to spend the night at his place.
Yeah.
So,
you know, unless there's a moment here where they kind of set this up a little bit where Steven says, well, I'm going to spend the night here because I just lost the last train. So I don't know if that might have been the same.
Yeah.
In any case, in the story, of course, there's a reason why she trusts him, because she's in a relationship with him. And he he tells Stephen, it was all very romantic. I even carried her over the threshold while she was sleeping and put her in the room and then closed it and locked it.
Yeah.
But here it's just, you never know. You don't know
and
what happens.
Didn't he went over to Quaid's house to get a book or something, right, in the short story?
Yeah. And then he says something like, I have some pictures for you to look at.
Yeah.
I have an original art page from the Dread Eclipse graphic novel. And the page I have is that same page where Quaid is showing him, hey, you want to see the pictures? And Stephen is holding the book. And there's this it's a great sequence of panels. And it's like you see Quaid coming up behind Stephen looking really sleazy. And Stephen is looking at him like sideways, like, oh, where are you coming from? So it's really cool. It was done by Dan Brereton, and it was a painted art, so it's really nice.
Yeah, I have that too. It's I have all those Eclipse. They did all the Books of Blood adaptations, except Rawhead Rex. I'm really looking for that, but it's really expensive.
Oh shucks! Here's the video of
really cast it all over to the college.
And the random guy saying, this is on every TV in campus right now.
Yeah, like he's some kind of a comic book supervillain that it can take over the broadcast channels.
Yeah, this is like Quaid is a monster.
Yeah, that's like Dr. Evil kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's just horrible. The way this is your reality. It's like, that's so awful.
Yeah, like she doesn't know that already.
It's like guerrilla art video crap.
And how does he think that that's helping her? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, at this point, like you said, it's kind of a descendant to madness for Quaid. So who knows what his motivation is? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he could have he told her in person that it was okay and it was his birthmark is cool. I don't know.
He's just, insane. He's a manipulator.
And for her, she thinks somebody finally accepted her, and then he did that.
Yeah. I remember seeing a little video featurette for Dread. I posted that this morning on the Clive Barker podcast page. It's like 3-minute trailer with Clive Barker talking.
Go back and check it out.
Oh, yeah. It has Clive Barker and Anthony Diblasi, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Probably add that to the show notes. So it says here, Clive Barker, Joe Daly, Anthony Diblasi, and George Saraleghi launched the Midnight Picture Show in 2003. Prior to this, Saraleghi was Executive VP of Production at 20th Century Fox from 1996, where he was involved in the conception and production of such big-budget successes as Speed, Independence Day, Broken Arrow, and Alien Resurrection. Well, that last one is arguable. Through his own production company, Sarah Legge produced Red Planet, The Time Machine, Queen of the Damned, and Showtime. That's interesting.
So he got hit in the back of the head with a bottle, and that made his eye get all swollen.
I was curious about that myself. I don't know if that could happen or not.
I don't.
It just looks like Quaid really did this in a spur of the moment thing, because that thing with the belt and the glasses just ridiculous.
And the zip ties, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sort of did a joke version of that with the...
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what that was from. Yeah, that was great.
And
that
I was looking at the watch like, this is stupid and boring.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work. I mean, I did it myself. You can hear just almost exactly the same as if you didn't have those on your ear.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
You're just lucky nobody took a shot, fired a gun next to your ears to... Yeah,
so that was something I was wondering. Would it really make your eardrums rupture and blood would pour out of your ears?
Probably. It would do something to it. I don't know if it would make it...
I think it would just be like... I don't know. I mean... Maybe it would temporarily, mess up your hearing and your ears would ring, but I don't know why.
Well, people in a firing range have to use ear protection because every time you listen to something really loud, it kills some of your eardrum cells.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they regenerate that well. So that's why people who listen to...
Having blood pour out of his ears, is that just a sort of a flourish or a exaggeration?
Yeah. Just to have a little gore.
Oh, man, this scene is... Yeah, that much blood just popping out of his ear? No, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
I just think it's so much better in the short story. It's so much better. So Quaid lives in a rundown house, and then he just gets his friend Steven, who completely trusted him, and he does this to him. He puts this thing, he prepares it. He has, the video camera and everything that sees in the dark... And he puts him in a sensory deprivation chamber, essentially. In this one, it's just something that he does in the corner of a room to a guy that happened to stop by his house, and it's there's no build up to this. It's like something spur of the moment.
At least he gave him a ride home.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing. This guy could totally just write on a piece of notepaper, Quaid did this to me with a gun. And then Quaid would get arrested.
Oh, yeah.
But I think he probably, knows he's insane or something.
Because with Steven, it breaks his mind. So Steven becomes reduced to almost like a childlike state.
Yeah. Well,
same happens to Cheryl, really.
Well, and that happens to him in this movie, but it's not. I don't know.
This is a hard scene to watch.
Oh yeah.
I really have a hard time watching this movie.
Yeah.
What do you call this in English? Steel wool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. Use the steel pots, stainless steel stuff. When I used to wash dishes at a rest home.
Oh boy, that really you have to use gloves when you use that. Otherwise, it's gonna
they're gonna cut you.
Yeah, they're gonna.
I've actually got a scar from being cut. I mean, it slices into you good.
Yeah.
Get cut. I mean, just imagining that she's trying to take that. I mean, basically she's, taking her skin off in the bleach, and it's just. I have to admit, this is an effective moment.
This phone call from her is actually, she makes a really good point where she says, "Well, would you like me if I was pretty?" It's I kind of think maybe he would have.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the kind of weakness I was mentioning about Steven. He kind of he wants to be a good guy, but he doesn't want to stray too far from comfort.
Yeah.
He doesn't really want to. He wants to be with a pretty girl, not someone who has a port-wine birthmark.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't fault any of the effects on here. I mean, this is gruesome and hard to watch, like you're saying. I think, Rob, are you already past this scene with the scrubbing?
No, she's still scrubbing.
I'm seeing the red water in the bathtub.
Me too.
Yeah, that's what I just saw.
Oh, my God, the bleach. Oh.
Yeah, the bleach.
Oh.
That's like Fight Club stuff when the guy puts powdered bleach on
the lye.
His hand.
Yeah.
The lye, yeah. That's what it is, right? Lye is bleach.
Yeah.
In powder form, right? Yeah. Oh, that's horrible. But it's like you said, Rob, very effective scene here.
Yeah. Man, poor Abby.
Yeah, I mean, this feels like it's out of a different movie, too. It's like, this character should have her own movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She was stronger than the other characters in this movie.
Yeah. I'll give Diblasi that. He wrote a good character with her.
Well, and she performed it really well, too.
Yeah.
It's not that there's any real bad actors in this movie, except maybe the one I like the less.
Well, the three main characters are, I don't relate to them. They're kind of cold.
Yeah.
And
it's just
and
they weren't given good material to work with, I think.
Well, and Cheryl has a much smaller part in this movie than she did in the story, even though the movie is longer.
Oh, this is the prayer that other guy used to pray when he couldn't hear.
Yeah, and so the idea is that now he remembers the whole thing because he needs it.
Yeah. He kind of reminds me of James Franco, or James Franco's brother.
He does. He really does look like him. Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
After the same kind of nose.
First thing I would do when I woke up is write, Quaid did this to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean...
So he's a John Doe. Okay, I guess Quaid could have taken his wallet and stuff, so yeah.
Yeah.
True.
But they could just say, hey, what happened? Here's a piece of paper and a pencil. Can you write down?
I think they mean that he also got a little mentally broken, just like Stephen Gray's. But
yeah, but there's not really enough time to explore that at all.
Yeah, and also they can't go into his what his mind is thinking, like in the story when you see the world through Stephen's eyes.
Yeah. And so are these two right next to each other in the same hospital? I mean, I guess so, but Stephen didn't notice.
Hey, that saves a lot of money on production.
Yeah. But Stephen didn't notice the other guy in the room next door or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, he was a guy from our study.
You know what? When he's walking around the hallway, it doesn't look like a hospital hallway. It looks like a
college.
Yeah,
it looks like the college.
It is
exactly like college.
I think you're right. I think those are dorm rooms. Or
yeah, that's what that is.
Because there's all these whiteboards full of papers, and I'm like, you don't see that in a hospital hallway. I mean,
no.
Unless the college has its own little hospital
room where they were watching the movie. Actually, the same hallway.
Yeah. Also, Quaid really should move out of that house because black mold is not good for you.
Yeah. Oh, and so he was just remembering Stephen being there, and he saw Stephen walk by.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, right. Now I hate you too, even though you didn't do this to me.
You're right. They're right next door to each other. I wonder if this is meant to be like a campus clinic or something.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
So if you were in his position, would you steal an axe?
Probably not, because he's not crazy or he's not mentally broken like he is in the story. So I don't understand why.
Jackson
I think he's wanting to freak out. He wants to get revenge here now.
Yeah.
You're going to face the beast. Yeah,
but he wasn't really going to hit him with the axe.
No, he just wants him to.
Because at this point, he doesn't know. He doesn't know what he did to Sarah.
He's been dishing out to other people.
So there's a scene coming up here where he's bringing the axe up the stairs, and there was blood on it. Not right there, but coming up.
Yeah, the thing about Stephen doing this is I think this is supposed to be okay, Stephen's going to give Quaid a taste of his own medicine. You went too far, but now I'm going to go just as far as you did to scare you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like the transition
right here.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's what okay, so he's mixing up his...
I like the transition.
When I watched this last night, it looked like Stephen's axe had blood on it, which is wait, what?
Because
he's remembering
Quaid Quaid is mixing his memories with what's going on.
Well, that was very Shining-esque of Jack Nicholson when he was hacking into the door,
Oh, yeah.
The
you want to face the beast?
Yeah.
Sometimes these expressions, that guy Quaid looks like he's forgot some lines or something. It's just what is my line?
Here's Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was blood on the axe right there when he dropped it.
Or was it that red paint that usually covers some part of the axe?
Well, it was spread across it, though.
Okay. Maybe someone in the effects department got a little overexcited and they were like, "Oh yeah, let's put some blood on the door."
Or they mixed up the axe that was from the flashbacks with the axe from the scene.
Sure.
And Quaid says, "Wait a minute, this isn't my nightmare. This is just Steven."
Just that face he has on, the look on his face.
Yeah. So here we're starting to see that Quaid is facing his fear, and we're supposed to be like, "Oh, good for him."
Yeah, and now it's, finally Quaid is coming out with a gun, and I just think that this part is really not.
Yeah. Quaid's really good at knocking people out.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was another script adaptation of Dread, and it was really weird. There was going to be a haunted house with a crow's nest, an observation room with windows all around, and
that sounds like nothing like the story.
No, nothing like the story. Cheryl and Steven are boyfriend and girlfriend right in the second paragraph of that script and stuff. And, here's the part where he's showing Cheryl.
The actress that did this scene said she had she had the filmmakers lock her up for 6 hours in that boarded up meat room.
Oh wow!
Because it helps her to get the desired feelings that she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
She talked about that in Fangoria.
Some directors will do that to their actors. I mean, I remember Stanley Kubrick did treated the actress that played Jack Nicholson's wife,
Shelley Duvall.
She had
like a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, he was kind of rough with her a little bit. Like he made her like run back and forward for 10 minutes before certain scenes to get her like all amped up and stuff. And she said she really hated the shoot.
Yeah.
And there's a funny video of Jack Nicholson getting ready for the X scene. I don't know if you saw
I've
that.
seen that.
Yeah,
he's all jumping up and getting fired up.
Yeah, because he's like a Actors Studio alumni.
Yeah,
method actor and stuff. So yeah, Cheryl's story. Somehow I feel like in the short story in the book, it looks better. But in this one, I will grant that Anthony Diblasi did use the dialogue from the story pretty much word for word. So that's good.
Yeah. But it sounds weird coming out of Quaid, but...
Yeah.
I see that, yeah. And then there's this editing going on with shots that are taken from different angles.
Yeah, right. But he's only got one camera.
And they look like they were like handheld shots because they're kind of like shaking a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the loose documentary style, I guess, that the director wanted. You're right. Yeah, where does he have a whole camera, like different camera angles in there? I mean, like a camera setup?
Well, I think this is a good part of the story for sure. This is a good part. It's just I'm not entirely sure that it's the main, meat and potatoes of the story. I think the part with Steven is also a big part of what makes the story cool.
I think when he says that, the reality is that it's one of the most memorable parts of the short story, but that doesn't make it the meat and potatoes of the story.
Yeah. Because what happens to Steven puts us in Steven's place. It changes the point of view puts us inside his head.
Yeah.
And it kind of like takes us on a descent into a mental breakdown as well, because all of a sudden we see things through Steven's eyes, and the police is scary, and he wants.
Yeah, and so you think that Steven is being spared from all that because he's going to win in the end.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might revisit the short story tonight after watching this. I just haven't read it in a while.
Yeah, to get the bad taste out of your mouth
Yeah.
from this movie. It's the second time I'm watching it in 48 hours.
Me too.
I just want to give Steven a haircut. Really, just annoys me.
That's how I think Quaid should look in this movie.
Yeah.
He should really look like that, and instead he still looks like a pretty boy.
That's right. Yeah. They actually do mention that in the short story. They say that Quaid had like this dirty blonde-looking hair and always went around without shaving for a few days.
Yeah, he should look unkempt and not okay.
Mm-hmm. And so the motivations for Quaid here is he wants to touch the beast, but in the story, I think he also does a lot of introspection. And he also tries to analyze his own fears to an extent that this character in the movie doesn't do. He just takes pills and then he throws his pills away. But in the short story, I think, or am I confusing it with the graphic novel, Quaid has pictures of people that were murdered with axes. He has a collection of those pictures as well in his house that he looks at. So
I can't remember if that's just a graphic novel too.
I'll look at both tonight. I can't remember either.
It's a really good adaptation from Eclipse Comics.
Yeah.
So I think that her looking like that is a little exaggerated because it's like, he's like, okay, now it's been 2 days.
Uh-huh.
I don't think anybody would look like that in 2 days.
And also, it's against the story because in the story, she kept cleaning herself up with a towel and a bucket.
Yeah,
she kept grooming herself.
I tried to find if the information on the actual bone, the steak that she was eating, if it was raw or how they prepared that. Was it okay?
Lightly cooked with a little salt. I think the story says that. Of course, here it's probably just like a prop made out of like big.
And he said it was cooked, but it looked like it was raw in that when she was eating it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's all dirty and grimy, and it's been 2 days.
Yeah, I know, and she looks like she's been rolling around in the dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the story, she kept cleaning herself every few hours. She was always cleaning herself because he put her in the room and she started her period while she was in captivity.
And she lost track of the day and night cycle. And
right, because there was only one bulb and there were no windows and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Who's with you?
Yeah, this part is pretty much like the story, except for those things that we've been pointing out.
And it turns out he was lying, which is, I don't know, which is sort of another betrayal of the short story.
Sure, yeah. In the short story, we take it at face value that he's saying the truth. Because it kind of makes sense from what we've seen, we see happen to Stephen. Because he also breaks Stephen's mind, but then he lets him go. So.
Yeah. Well, and this guy, he let him go.
Yeah, and how did this guy made his way here from the hospital?
Yeah, somebody would have saw him as this.
Right. He was in a freaking hospital gown, and then all of a sudden he
doesn't look right.
Nope.
Yeah.
To quote Hank Hill, that boy ain't right. And the end of the story is so good, especially the last line, the last paragraph of the story.
Yeah.
And
really, it's left me creep me out.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, which Clive always says that this is not a paranormal story. It's like one of the only ones he's ever written that's not paranormal, but that, it is a little bit.
Curious why the previous script you were talking about, Joe, why would they even go add like a ghost aspect to it anyway? Because the story doesn't even is not even about that. But
well, it's not so much that there was a ghost. It's more like the house is creepy, and there's someone who hides in the walls at one point, and there was no ghost really, but it's more.
I thought you meant it was like a haunted house, like literally haunted.
No, it's more like the memories and what happened in the house and kind of kind of a haunting thing.
The haunted house, if he's talking about this script, would be just Quaid's memories, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
which didn't happen in this house, I don't think, but I don't know why he would have kept that house.
Are you moving the microphone?
My earbud.
Okay. Yeah, there's some good lines here in the last 2 pages of the story. One of them is, and it's kind of what's going on right now. He says, the clown climbed another stair, skipping as he did so, his glittering eyes fixed on Quaid, filled with a sort of benign malice. The axe rocked back and forth in his white hands in a petite version of the killing stroke. Quaid knew him. It was his pupil. His guinea pig transformed into the image of his own dread. Him, of all men, him, the deaf boy. It's just beautiful.
That's good stuff.
It's good stuff.
Okay.
And then here comes the guy with the axe. All converging at the same time. What are the odds? Oh, and, Jackson Rathbone gets it. This is for Twilight. Boom.
Yeah. So, at this point in the movie, is there any reason at all why we should care what happens from here on?
I didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
I felt pissed off that it was like, man, what are you doing with the story? You're ruining the story.
And then this part here, it's like, oh, goody. Are we supposed to be happy now? Like, are we supposed to be happy for Quaid that he's conquered his fear?
Right. Like
he kills this poor guy that he didn't do anything to him?
Yeah, like I said, I lost
kind of
interest
infuriated,
in this movie a while ago.
Yeah. It's like, and they're showing in he's confronting the axe killer guy, by shooting that poor guy in the head. I don't know. It's like...
Yeah.
Well, and this is weird because now Quaid is a killer. He's just as bad as the guy who killed his parents.
Yeah.
Well, if it wasn't bad enough already for doing what he's doing, but obviously.
Yeah, and so now he wants to look at look at his eyes and watch his final moment, watch him die.
Which in the story, what he wanted to see is watching the eyes of his test subjects. He wanted to see the moment where they get so broken by their fear that they snap.
Yeah,
that's what he's looking for in the story, in the book.
That's a lot more interesting. The way he did it, the story, the character.
And how does he
it comes
know
back
that,
to bottom in the, like you said, it comes back to bottom in the ass.
Right, and
this one,
what if it was going to take Steven 6 hours to die?
I guess he would just stay there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awkward eye contact. It's like, what's that? What are you trying to say?
Yeah, and he's like, yay, I did it.
I don't see what kind of revelation he gets from seeing a man die, but,
Yeah.
This is all just very empty to me. It's just...
Yeah.
I agree. I don't understand what's going on with Quaid and what sort of secret knowledge is deriving out of seeing a man die.
Yeah.
The whole purpose of his experiments with Dredd in the book were to understand what happened, inside a person's mind when they confront their worst fears. Watching the fear of death, the pinnacle of all Dredd approach. That was the limits. I don't even know if that's grammatically accurate.
That was the limits.
Yeah.
It should be that was the,
like
or those were the limits.
Was that a nod to Hellraiser too?
Could
that
be.
Line.
I had gone to the limits.
Yeah.
And like you said, Ryan, here we see that he was actually lying all along.
Yeah. And who's he talking to?
Damned if I know.
Is he writing in a journal?
Maybe he's writing his own thesis.
Yeah.
He really is a student.
Yeah.
To live another's dread vicariously was the safest, cleverest way to touch the beast.
Did you
there she
write
is.
that down in your notes or something?
Oh, that's from the subtitles of the movie. That's what Quaid is saying.
Oh, okay.
Okay, he opened up the door to Cheryl's room now.
Yeah, now Cheryl got downgraded in her suite.
Yeah. She's in the broom closet.
Yeah.
It's just so
and he
horrible.
already got everything he needed from her. So putting her through this is just
Torture.
There's no good. He's got no good motivation for that.
He's a sadist.
Because you can't let her go. Because I mean,
Let's see
eventually
how
she's
hungry
gonna die because she can go to the cops. But
yeah, it's like Quaid living, the surviving the end of this story. It just
I hated
completely
that
kills it for
character. I really wanted him to die.
It's a slap in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
me. It is a slap in the face for me. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
As a fan, I'm like, really, this is the ending you're going to go with? Because that didn't make any sense to me. Like Quaid's story arc has no payoff. He's just a weird guy. For some reason, makes friends and people like him, and then he just does horrible experiments, and that's it. He gets away with it, and I'm like,
Yeah, and it's about his growth as a human being facing his fears. I don't care about his growth.
Yeah, I know at
And
all.
it made me think of Jurassic Park, like the guy that played Newman that stole the sample, who was like an industrial spy or whatever, and he
Yeah.
in a
it
Barbasol
made me think,
can.
what if he got away?
Right, right.
It would be like that.
Totally. Instead of being eaten by that weird looking dinosaur with like a neck thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, look at here,
Stick,
stupid.
stick, stupid.
Yeah.
So the
No
last
wonder you're
sign-
extinct. Sorry.
Yeah, no wonder you went extinct. Yeah, but here there's this part, and maybe I'm not going to read it. I was going to read the last line from the short story, but I'm not going to spoil it for anybody else.
Oh, I don't think you can spoil it.
Yeah, it's just beautiful the way that he, the narrator at the end of the story, Clive writes what's going on through Quaid's mind while Steven confronts him at the end, and it's just, man, that line at the end, the last line of Dread, is really amazing to me.
There's just something about it. The way, I don't know. When I read it when I was a kid, it bothered me.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So that's it. That's Dread. That's another
Thank
one out of
God.
the way. For
What's up next? Candyman?
Candyman 3.
Candyman 3. It
Yeah,
has like
so
a
that's
Playboy
not to
model.
say, because we all like Candyman 1 and 2, but 3 is like a whole different animal.
Yeah,
What's the subtitle of that? It's Day of the Dead? I
Day
think
of
it's
the
called.
Dead, yeah.
Yeah.
which is weird because Day of the Dead is. Oh wait, no, that's not right. Okay, it's Mardi Gras. That's on the second movie, right?
Yeah, that's the
In New
Mardi Gras.
Orleans. Yeah. So, Candyman 2 is a perfect example of a movie where the director decided to, or the writer of the script decided to expand the story, and he did a good job expanding the story, I thought.
I did too.
With Daniel Robitaille and his story, backstory and stuff, what happened to him to turn him into the Candyman. It subverts the intention of Clive Barker's story because in the actual story, Candyman was supposed to be just this rumor. I don't think they ever say that he was a real person. It was just a rumor that so many people believed it that he came to life.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Whereas in Candyman 2, it's the ghost of like someone who died.
Yeah.
And
He
so,
was real.
but I'm willing to put that aside just because I think that the way he expands the story is really good. In this one, I just didn't like it. I just didn't like what Diblasi did to the characters and what he did to the story. I just didn't like it. That's it.
And I don't think that there's any reason to sympathize with Quaid or to be excited for him living at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the third stretch goal that we've done.
Yeah.
Probably do the next one, next year sometime? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. And
January, probably.
I was almost done with my Nightbreed game review, but I'm having computer problems, so it might be a while now before I finish it.
That's fine. I got to start the Undying playthrough as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm probably going to do it on a normal level of difficulty because I'm not that good at that game. But it's cool. It's coming along. So there's that. I know that one of our friends from the Fifth Dominion, Antoinette Callahan-Smith, she was also recently got a guidebook for Clive Barker's Undying.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, she posted it on the Fifth Dominion Facebook page, and I was like, oh, cool. I also have that book. Yeah, that explains all the secret compartments and what you should do to
Oh,
the
that's
game.
cool.
But I think I'm just going to go and do it on my own without knowing what's coming. I think that's more that's funnier to do that.
Yeah, I look forward to that because that's a really good game, and I like watching playthroughs. So I like to see how you do.
Sometimes I wish that games could have remakes with better graphics and a different engine.
Didn't you say there was like an upgrade somebody did? It's like a code or something you could put in. And
it's a small graphic mod that added a little bit more detail, and another graphic mod that made it go widescreen. Because
that does happen all the time. Just not so much on PC games, but it happens on consoles all the time.
Oh, okay, cool. Like I know that they did The Last of Us remastered at one point, for example. They made better graphics and stuff, but I really wish that they did that for Undying. Movies, they get rebooted, they get remade. It's easy to do it, but with a computer game, it just doesn't seem to have that. There just doesn't seem to be a good market for that. Once you make a game and you put it out, that's it.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing yours too, Ryan. I've never seen that game played, the Nightbreed game.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like it's like a scene-for-scene kind of playthrough. Is that because the way you described it?
Sort of.
There are YouTube playthroughs. Yeah.
Oh, are there?
Yeah, it's the graphics are kind of like EGA. So, like 256 colors. Because I think it was developed on like a 386 or 486 or something. It was developed for PC first and then ported out to Amiga and Amstrad. And
nowadays they make games for console first and then they do the PC version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how they develop them. All right, so that's it.
That was
the movie's over. Third Kickstarter goal reached. This is going to be your Christmas present, I guess. And in January, we're going to do our usual year-in review episode.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So stay tuned for that. It's been fun. Okay.
All right, guys.
Talk to you later.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial fan site and podcast that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Films. This podcast and site are a labor of love by the fans for the fans. News, features, and show notes for this episode can be found at www.clivebarkercast.com. Go to iTunes and please leave us a review. Reviews really help us get the word out about Clive Barker. You can also find us on Podomatic, Xbox Music Store, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Double Twist, BlackBerry, and Pocket Cast. We have a Facebook page, so come on and like our Facebook page and join the Occupy Media group for lots of discussion about Nightbreed and other Clive Barker stuff. On Twitter, we're at BarkerCast and at Occupy Midian. Opening theme by Mark Buckle.
If you don't go out and find the beast, sooner or later the beast will come and find you. To live in others' dread vicariously, that's the safest way to touch the beast.
Yeah, see, I don't think I really want to touch the beast that you're talking about.
We want to chase the beast. Discover the origins of people's deepest fears.
Find the beast.
Quiet! Face the beast! You get that to her! You want to face the beast?
You faced the beast. The beast won.
To live in others' dread vicariously was the safest, cleverest way to touch the beast.